Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Good day, my friend.
Good day. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm running on a lack of sleep, but I'm okay other than that. Doing a lot of practice around, well, I'm seeing the ones, number one in multiple
Gotcha.
sequence showing up quite frequently, which is a great reminder of being aware of what I'm thinking about. And I feel like I'm on this new level of awareness. So which is interesting because I mean, because I've been practicing being aware of my thoughts for a long time, but they still go awry and I get distracted with discomfort and discord and all that. And a few nights ago, I want to say Friday, I wrote it down. But anyway, I was laying in bed and it was like I was just going into sleep and my entire body vibrated. I was like, okay, here we go. Here we go. And then I got disrupted with by a person, which was okay. And then settled back in and it did it again. I'm like,
Now,
okay.
when you have that, do you notice any different location? Do you notice if it starts from one area of the body to the next? Does it start from like top to bottom? Or do you like feel it from your heart area and burst open? Like, what do you notice when that's happened?
It happened, I would say like it's kind of started centrally and then
Okay,
just like spread out.
awesome.
It was
That
really
is awesome. That's awesome. I actually had there was a night, I don't know what night it was though, and it'd be interesting to know if it was the same time frame, but I didn't write it down. I was sitting outside and I turned around and stood up, and all of a sudden I could see like waves of energy going through my body. And then there was like areas that were darker than other areas, but it's like, it wasn't about that. It was just about the waves of light passing through. And it was the weirdest thing ever. It was weird. It was weird because I don't remember ever experiencing such a thing, but I almost wonder if that's not the same time that right around the same time, just because I recognize there's a lot of stuff going on energetically
Yeah.
that kind of that so many of us are having the same experiences. If I was not having a great day, I might talk to my kids and find out they weren't having a great time. Or if there's been difficulty sleeping, then I talk to my other daughter that I normally talk to, but she was on vacation. And then she's telling me the same thing. And it's like, huh, it's interesting. It's interesting because it's like she even said, we're energetically connected because just from the umbilical cord, right? I mean, there's always been that connection. They came in through this gateway or this doorway, which is my physical vessel for them in order for them to come through. So I find it interesting that we have so much things that are similar going on. With that being said, I have a friend that recently found out that she had cancer or something along those lines. And I won't go too far into it, but it wasn't about that. And what it was about is the person hasn't told anybody really. And I understand that from a lot of ways because I was that person that was independent. And a lot of times we're just trying to just kind of process things in our own self before we share that information. But keep in mind, when we share that information with people that that are going to send you streams of grace, send you prayers, send healing, get together and send healing, there's such a great thing to do for others to do. That's like the angels all standing around and we're suffering and not asking for help. It's the same thing because we got all these people. We have all of our angels that are around us and we are so great when we come together and when we come into prayer, period. Because when we come into prayer, however that looks for you, we have angels that come in and help strengthen the energy of that prayer. Not that we're weak, because if I read lots of different information and listen to lots of different information from others' perspectives, they say that we are as strong and powerful as the archangels. People that that channel archangels and higher entities, they say that we're not less than, and we have I think a lot of times think that we are less than because we're planetary based right now. So it's like there's just different information to come forward when we're ready to receive it.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because cancer, because I just watched this morning podcast by Ed Milet, who had a guest of a lady who is a powerhouse. And she's been diagnosed cancer. And then so she's talking about her experience and her choices and how she's perceiving it and what she's doing with it and how she's making changes. And so but yeah, I totally agree with when you have something going on. I'm that person. I'm still on the fence about it. Like if I got a diagnosis about something, would I share it right away? No, I
I don't
wouldn't.
think I would either. Yeah, I don't think I would either.
I would sit with it and I would do my internal inventory and just tap into myself. And then begin sharing with people who like you just said, I know who would support me in a loving way in like I would reach out to you most likely and say, okay, there's processing to do around this. And I need other perspective, right? I need new eyes to see and help me navigate this journey. And so finding people who are going to support you in that I'm going to say emotional work, because any discomfort, discord, dis-ease that's in our bodies, there's emotional stuff attached to it. And this lady talked about forgiveness was huge for her. Like she realized she has this estranged relationship with her mom. She had a really tough upbringing, and her mom just wasn't capable, based on her stuff, capable of being there to be a mom. And they ended up in very abusive, living arrangements. And she said she realized through, being diagnosed and forgiveness becoming part of her process, that she had never forgiven her mom. She'd never done a forgiveness process with her mom. And so it would, finding the people who are going to support you in a journey of healing, because anything going on in the body is a healing process, which is emotional, right? To me, emotional attachment to it. So that requires a healing process. So finding somebody who you can trust, who is going to emotionally support you and help you navigate that journey to do the healing, the emotional healing that would probably be very beneficial. So
Yeah. And even going through that, it's what we talk about it a lot, but forgiveness of self too, because we were in those situations and we perceive them from the space that we're in.
Yeah.
And as we grow, we can perceive them so differently. For instance, I could perceive that my mom could have done things differently as a child. When I was younger, I always thought that she could have done things differently. And then I realized she did the best that she could. She had the tools that she had, and she did the best that she could with those tools.
right.
So at that time, so it's also forgiving too. It's forgiving yourself, because we carry so much of this stuff within in ourselves, and it's not to punish ourselves and say, God, why did I waste so much time being so pissed off at that person? I was being so stupid. And you can start insulting yourself and degrading yourself. And it's like, it's not about all that stuff. It's forgiving yourself because you did the best you could because of the tools that you received, because we are a product of whatever our caretakers were at the time. Honestly, whoever our role models were, that's what we picked up. And it wasn't because of the things they said or did. Well, they said it was a lot of the stuff that they did. And that's the thing that gets overlooked. People, they're always, wanting their kids to do better than them, but they're not expecting that of themselves to do better than they did. And if we started focusing more on ourselves instead of something outside of ourselves, we would actually benefit greatly from it. And we would grow so much more, because we're not playing the blame game anymore.
Yeah. I have just recently, I know a person who took some time to go visit her mother, and they haven't seen each other in a few years. And it's a very difficult relationship as well. Both of them have control issues, both of them not wanting to be controlled. So it's very, very strong dynamics of headbutting in that area. And the visiting time ended only after a few days because of tension. And the daughter left, very upset because of, I don't know the details and I wouldn't share them anyway. But the whole idea that they're I just think of rams, and they're butting their horn, and just going at it and trying to win the herd or whatever they do. And so her comment to me was, the next time I see her will be at her funeral. And I was like, wow, it's that type of stuff where we can't, it takes some deep introspection of being able to reach to see through the eyes of love, right? Because if we understood our mom or parents or that adult around us who was significant in our upbringing, that they have a whole history of stuff plus generational stuff, right? That like all the stuff, and then you came into being, and then they took the time to, or didn't take the time to raise you and until you were able to leave home and do your own thing. And we don't look at all that. The only thing we look at is, this is my parent and this is what they were supposed to do. They're supposed to love me and they're supposed to take care of me and they're supposed to nurture me and they're supposed to support me and they're supposed to do all these things. They were supposed to keep you safe. That's kind of like the end of story, right? The job is to keep you safe. And even then, we can't, even as a parent, can't do that 24/7. You could die in your sleep. You could go to the park and something happened. You could go to a friend's house and something like, to the best of our ability as parents, to keep you safe when you're little, when you're younger, because you're out here for your own journey. And that journey, I heard on a Alex Ferrari's podcast with the lady, where she talked about purpose of life is to find our way home. And when I was thinking about that, I was like, to find our way home is to me, being in the physical body as a human, is to come back to our heart center, to come back into that space of love, come back into that space of our trueness of spirit and body, which is love. To me is love and joy. And that we could come back to that, come back to home in the physical body right here where we're at right now. And that's when we're in that space of love, we wouldn't feel that discord, that the anger and the resentments and all that, because there's more of a understanding of everybody's crap. Like, we get it, right? It's the understanding. She has her crap, and the other person has their crap, and now they're trying to come together and have these expectations of each other, and there's only disappointments. When you're living in that space of love, I don't feel like it wouldn't exist.
Because you don't have expectations in love. It just is. And the thing is they're triggering each other, they're matching each other in energy, they're pushing against each other. And that's the thing. Then they come to this space, and I don't know how to express enough to people for them to understand, when we don't have to wait till someone transitions, because now once they have this transition, either one of them transitions, the other one's going to be thrown off balance because they no longer have that push. There's no longer something pushing against them. So they just fall. You fall to the floor because you have to pick yourself up again. And I don't feel like it's necessary. I feel like if we can get into that space of love, that's like you were saying earlier, that's getting into the self-work. That's getting into why does this trigger me? Why am I having an emotional response to this? How can I just love my mom? How can I just love her without any expectations at all? Because this is the energy she's been putting out since this person was born, right? While she was pregnant, she had this energy. So it's always been. So she's always probably wanted to rebel against that energy, not necessarily her mom, just the energy itself, because she has bigger things to do, but she's being distracted by focusing on that this is the problem, and we're never going to have a good relationship, and it'll follow them around like that, because you're constantly reminded of movies, everything that you pick up and watch. Well, yeah, my mom's not like that. Someone tries to come in and tell you about a story. And that's the thing. That's the other thing too. We start hearing stories of our loved ones when they transition. And it's like, we didn't see that side of them and we never asked questions. And then it's like you go through this remorse and grief because you, the person that's now the one that's left here in this human experience, they're having to kind of grapple at things, grasp a hold of whatever they can get a hold of that makes any sort of sense at all. And it's an emotional mess that I don't think it's even necessary, because you can start doing the work here. You don't have to wait till someone transitions. And I don't feel like when I say doing the work sounds like you got to do something. No, it's finding that space of love. It's connecting up with the heart. It's surrounding yourselves with people that are more uplifted and happy, that kind of help you to see a different view, because you can't, that's like sitting in a dark room all the time. And when you're around people that are uplifting, it's like opening up a door and fresh air comes in and you've got these amazing spirits that are standing around you. There was an Alex Ferrari, maybe it was the same interview, I don't even remember, but he was talking to someone. And she said that when she had transitioned, she had seen all the spirits and she could see them just as beams of light, basically, with kind of an outline form of like a physical form. But she says that now when she looks at everybody in the eyes, she sees their this light. And I think we can all see that. And if we put more energy and effort into seeing that from the space of the heart, we would totally operate on a different platform altogether. We wouldn't even be in the same space at all. And then understandings come. Communication is clearer, it's easier, it's just a natural state. And then it's not even having to say anything at all. It's with a hug or a touch or a holding the hand or just looking at them and smiling at them. We just lose track of all that stuff. And one of the things I say to people, if you do have good pictures that you can look back at, remind yourself, because we get into these stories in our mind that we tell ourselves over and over and over again. And we don't realize every time those stories come up, we start adding a little bit more to it, or we change something because we got something that's triggered with inside of us. So we kind of feed that a little bit and you go down a path that you're maybe not necessarily wanting to go down. And it's not even the truth. It's an experience that's really gone out of control. It's like a wildfire. And because that's how it can go. It can just totally eat up everything and it's not even necessary. So it's just really taking that time, like you talked about earlier in this conversation, is, being in that space to receive this information, being connected, being having this flow going through you. And then you start receiving the energetics, you know what I mean? You start receiving the pulses, you start receiving the vibrational frequencies within the body, you start receiving the light, you start receiving the messages all the time, the communications. And it's, I find it interesting because even driving down the road yesterday, you talked about bringing awareness, right? And that your awareness is changing. I noticed this as well. And then now I'm noticing before I used to kind of just look around all the time at stuff, but now I'm actually stopped for a second. And even while I'm driving, I don't actually stop, but I kind of glance at something. I'm like, isn't that interesting that my eyes were caught to there? And then I'll look and see what it was. And then I'll be curious about what it was. And I keep driving along. And then I'm curious, right? I'm just driving along, curious instead of driving along. Well, I have had a lot of moments lately. There's been a lot of energies releasing and a lot of different stuff going on. But I even noticed that this week, I even had left the house yesterday because I was in a hurry. We had our what the heck's it called? Oh my gosh, it's for the house. I can't even remember what it's called right now, but we had to go down and exchange it. We just happened to call yesterday morning to find out that this machine that we've been using, that I can't see, it's something simple, but anyways, it helps to run the house. So it helps to run air conditioner, a generator, and it helps to run all that stuff. But if ours wasn't working, it kept shutting off and shutting off. So we called yesterday and found out that there was a warranty on it. I never buy warranties on it. And neither does Freeman, but we just happened to do it on this time. And because we bought it a year and a half ago. So all we had to do is drive it down and exchange it. And then I get back home and I'm like, so that was my one trip. And I lived, it's about 25 minutes out, one way. So then I had to drive back to town because I was going to go to the gym, get my granddaughter and everything else. And then I had to go pick up the battery because we forgot the battery that was on that generator, that it's ours. We paid for it separately. So I pull up, so anyways, before I even leave there, I made myself a smoothie because I want to hurry up and get there, go meet my daughter, get to the gym, go pick up my granddaughter. I'm driving down. I just made my smoothie, threw it in the seat next to me. I'm driving and I look over and I see my smoothie juice, the drink is like all over the seat. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like flipping around and I'm flying like a bat out of hell home. I get here, Freeman helps me clean it up. He comes and says a few things and he says, which we need these reminders because not always can we, this little burst might be right now, but it's the heat can bring stuff out and that's the way it's supposed to be. So I come back here and he says a few things and he says, know that you were just saved from an accident. You were just saved from this. And it's the truth. It totally took away all that energy. And then I turned around and drove back. Now I'm heading back to Harbor Freight to go pick up this battery. And I'm walking up the thing and they come out to meet me with it. They were so great over there. Honestly, they were wonderful, wonderful people from the first time we got there, from the whole transaction, really. So then, you know, it was just one of those things to kind of look at. And then it's like, I met my daughter over, we had a great workout, had someone else that worked out with us, got my granddaughter, came, I mean, like everything went perfectly. But it's like, sometimes we have an ideal in our mind that this is the way it's supposed to go. And perfect was the smoothie spilling on the seat. That was the perfect. It was. There was nothing wrong with it. But if I would have stayed in the space that I was in yesterday, I would have been let that eat me up all day long. And then my seat looks great. And I'm telling you, we're talking blueberry smoothie. So it's not exactly your safest color for everything else, but it worked out. It worked out. So it's like all these processes that are going on all the time. And then sometimes it's just even like last week, recognizing if you feel like this is just not my day, I'm not on my game, I don't feel right, I'm fighting a lot of stuff right now. It feels like I was dealing with a lot of stuff, and just to honor myself and be like, I can't do it today. And it's not because there's anything wrong, it's just because that's just the way it is. And it's honoring that space. But also I got into a space where, well, no, I know that I'll feel better, and this is something that's good to do. Sure it is. And people can use it as a learning lesson or not use it as a learning lesson. I really don't care. It was my experience and that's just the way it is. But I have an awareness of it. And so I'm watching it and I'm growing and I'm seeing what's going on, noticing different things. It makes me ask questions and I recognize I'm getting too much of something else that's creating more of this. And so it's just really kind of checking in with yourself. It's easy, you know, we can start looking at all the stuff online about things about your foods and all that stuff and get it from pill form, and pill form's not always good. If you look around, when you look at the back of a container and it says this is 300% of your daily allowance, why are we taking stuff like that? Honestly, it's really taking a look at stuff and even trying, I could use black cohosh as an example. It's really great for females with their hormones and all that stuff, but it's such a high number. It really, a lot of these things, because we've gotten, welcome to the United States, more is better. We've gotten into that space and more is not better. Actually, more is more of a problem. It's not creating balance. It's actually throwing you out of balance a different direction, which can be very detrimental to your physical body and your existence while you're here. Just different things. So there's just like all this information that kind of comes in all the time. And like I said, we think more is better here all the time. It's not. It's not. More is not better. From my experiences, going from a big, huge house and then having to downsize because we lost the house, and then my husband transitioning, and then going all the stuff that I thought was important in this space that it no longer had the importance anymore because it didn't fucking matter. It didn't matter. None of it mattered anymore because it was just distractions in the first place. So it blows my mind. I don't expect everyone to be in the same place that I'm at. I really don't, because we've all had different experiences and our experiences have led us down different paths, but this is where I'm at. And this is what feels right for me now that I'm noticing. And then this is the path that I'm going to go on. I'm going to continue asking myself questions about things. I'm going to continue having triggers and I'm going to continue resolving those and moving forward. That's just part of the journey. It's not something to beat ourselves up about. It's not something to feel regret. It's no grief, no remorse, no any of this stuff, but it's to be, that showed up. What is this all about? And then how can I show up better for myself? And how can I show up better for others? And it brings more of a desire. How can I just be in my heart space at all times? I know it's possible, but my old training doesn't show that. So this is all the process. Welcome to the show.
Right?
Yeah, it's part of the journey.
Yeah, I posted a video on social about judging, right? And I said, go judge every person you come in contact with today. Go judge every person you see today. Go judge them. Do it. And take your internal inventory. Why are you judging them? What is it that's triggering you? Good or bad? Right? You see the good in somebody? Great. How is that showing up in you? You getting pissed off? Great. Why is that showing up in you? Right? So I'm like, I've encouraged everybody because we're like, don't judge, don't do this. No, fucking go judge. You go judge everybody. And then look in the mirror, because that's what they're doing, right? They're mirroring you. And so, coming back to this dynamic between this mother and daughter is pointing the blame. Well, because you're showing up like this, then this is why I'm the way I am. This is why I'm pissed off at the world. This is why I'm not feeling love. This is why. And no, it's because you're allowing it. So you're allowing people to have the control, have the power. You're having these emotional discomforts in your body. Your body's reacting, having these physical sensations, discomforts. Then you're over the more, right? More supplements, more this, more that, which could be causing even more damage for not educated or listening to the body. So it's like this whole package of stuff. And most people, I mean, there's more awareness around it, but most people don't take the time to look at all of it, like the whole package. And that whole package is mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, all of it. So I hear you. I love it. It's great.
It's a journey.
The journey in the physical body.
Because we're learning the whole time. We're learning the whole time, all the time.
And even with a diagnosis. So this was something that popped into my head, when I was listening to this podcast about this lady who was diagnosed with cancer. What came to my head is, Ed Milet's, this may not be his exact words, but his comment was, to have a diagnosis is going to take your life. And I thought about that phrase for a second. I was like, a diagnosis that's going to take your life. Things like that start, questions start coming, and it's like, okay, we're not going to be here forever. We're going to transition back into spirit. This is the temporary. In fact, Alex references it a lot, like the Matrix, like this isn't the reality. We're all in this simulation. We're all having these experiences. Abraham Hicks says we can create our own reality, meaning we can, I'm going to use the word manipulate. We can manipulate the way we're perceiving our life to make it even better or even worse. I mean, or neutral. There's all these things that we can do. And I'm thinking, when we receive a diagnosis such as that is like, maybe this is what I decided is how I'm going to go out. But because I chose this way, look at all these amazing things I'm going to do before I go. I'm going to teach, because she's talking about already. She's changed her nutritional intake. She's changed the way she perceives her relationship. She's so much more present with people and in the conversation. She mentioned how, and we've talked about it too, that we're not guaranteed the next moment. We don't know how long we're going to be here. She goes, you don't realize how much meaning there is behind that when you actually have a life-threatening diagnosis. So yeah, so she's taken this experience and has made it an incredible tool to teach others. Right. I just witnessed a lady over her, like year and a half or so, she was diagnosed with cancer, and immediately her posts consisted, she shared her journey of the changes she was going through in her body, but she also, there were way more posts of her enjoying life, being with friends and family, creating memories, laughing, doing all these amazing things. And this lady as well, on Ed Milet show, she also saying, you know, all the material stuff, the big house, fancy car, all the money, like it, there's not a meaning to the expensive clothes. There's not a meaning to that anymore. And, but, and I'm not gonna say but, and like I said, she's using this as an amazing teaching opportunity for whoever's going to listen. So,
Which is awesome, because it doesn't matter how it turns out, right? Because it's still an opportunity. She's still walking this path, regardless of how she transitions, because we're all going to transition.
right. And the thing though, that she's been given, you know, you got some X amount of months to live, whatever. So with that, she's like, okay, well, these are things I'm gonna do. Whereas the person who's murdered or in a car accident, or like life is, you know, as we know it in physical form is done, they don't have that opportunity. But in actuality, they did. They just didn't take the opportunity. And most people don't make a change or choose to make a change. Like she's got that estranged relationship with her mom. It took this experience of the medical diagnosis to do some healing with her mom, when it didn't need to be that. It could have been done a long time ago. But because of the diagnosis, it's given her a different perspective. And we can
have nothing to lose.
Yeah, we can have those different perspectives right now.
Yeah. But it's almost like cancer or something along those lines gives you permission to have that experience. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. I have things that are going on with inside of me. I'm not going to go to the doctors for a diagnosis. I'm just not, that's just not my nature. I know some people like to go to the doctors and stuff like that. I don't go to the doctors. I don't. I feel like my body can guide me if I so choose to listen. So that's kind of the route that I go, and I know that things will work out. And I also, you know, I've seen the side of it, like when you're saying Ed Milet, basically saying it could be a sentence one way or the other, and it's an opportunity. So my mom chose, you know, when they told her that was it, I think she embraced that was it. Do you know what I mean? And then in so many ways probably healed herself in other ways, because she just wasn't going to hold on to these things anymore.
Yeah.
She wasn't going to be irritated by these things anymore. A lot of different things. And she was a great example for anyone in my family, because my sister, I was there, my brother was there, all of our kids were there, our spouses were there. Her husband was there when she transitioned. We were all there, all of us, which is it's an amazing opportunity, but also being around her when she was going through this process, because she was so very thankful and grateful. It had taken her to where she couldn't get up and go do things anymore. But I think in a lot of ways, my feelings were that she kind of laid into that space and was like, okay, I'm ready to go. And that's the difference. I think sometimes when they say that it's a sentence, it's not a sentence. It's a perspective thing. It's however that person will receive that information. For me, maybe I would go skydiving. I don't freaking know. Do you know what I mean? Because it gives you permission to be like, so what? You're going to fucking die anyways. Why don't you just go have a good time already?
Yeah.
And it was one of the comments that I even made to Freeman last night. And I said, you know, I spent my first half of my life being serious about everything. But I'm not. I mean, I might find myself in these moments of serious, but I'm fucking laughing about a lot of stuff that's like probably people wouldn't be laughing about, but it is what it is. Like I would rather be laughing about this stuff now. Like things are working out. I went and bought a small unit, window unit for the cat's house last week, because they were in that room. The house was up in the 92s. And it's like, I don't want to have animals that are, you know, stuck in those kind of spaces and not having enough air. So I got of that unit and it's kept it between 70 and 80. So that's awesome. Do the generator here and we're trying to maintaining temperature. Of course, our temperatures have dropped down. And what am I doing when I go sit outside? Because I'm sitting outside every evening. I'm sitting there and I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you so much for this cool breeze that's coming through. And every time I feel another breeze, I'm saying it over and over and over again, because it's helping me get into the practice of appreciating what I'm appreciating right that moment, instead of focusing on the things that weren't going right. So it's like really, really focus on that and really noticing it. And lately the temperatures have dropped. We have gotten a little bit, the temperatures have gotten a little bit more manageable. And then the evenings are getting down where it's a little bit cooler, it's dropping below 86. So it gives my house a time, because we're on solar. So we leave the house open at night. So we might have the living room area, kitchen and all that stuff might be at like 88. That's what our starting point. So you're turning on air to try to get that cooled down to stay below whatever's outside. So it's like there's a dance there, but it's not just a dance with the equipment and everything else, that there's a dance with self. And it's noticing if I have something on, I could be watching TikTok and I could be scrolling through some things and it'll start showing funny stuff. The temperature may not matter so much. I may not notice it so much for a couple of minutes, for a couple of seconds. And guess what? Sometimes that's enough relief. With that being said, that kind of goes along with pain too. When we're having a lot of pain all the time, obviously you can't go in when you're in that space of pain. You can't just automatically, it's not easy to connect to spirit. It's not, you may feel like it's a little bit daunting. It's maybe not as easy to get into a better mood or anything like that, but that's fine. You just stop and breathe into what is right then. But when you have the opportunity and you do have a little bit of relief, it's celebrating that relief, even if it's only for a couple seconds. It's just remembering to appreciate those times too. We've been having this, because you've been involved too, this group, I've been having like-minded people come together to have conversations. And I find it interesting as we're going. But at first, this is just a group for people to come together and have conversations. It's not to be controlled. There's not anything about it that needs to be controlled. It's just people being themselves, sharing stories, perspectives. It's awesome. But at first I was like, oh gosh, what if someone gets offended by what somebody's saying? What if oh my gosh, what if this person comes in and they kind of rub each other the wrong way? I'm just using those examples. I have had some similar thoughts that have been kind of crossing through my mind. And it's like, this isn't for me to control. This just is. It just is, because we're creating a safe space for people to communicate and have deeper conversations that we co-created. So we ripple out to the whole world and we start coming together and unifying. That's what this is all about. It's not to be controlled. It's not any of those things, but I recognize that still wanting to control some things, because, wanting it to be perfect every time. Not controlling it makes it perfect, because it gives everybody the opportunity to have it, whatever their experience they need to have right now for their growth. 100%. So all this learning stuff is there's so much all happening at one time, all the time lately. It just seems like there's always stuff, always. And it's even for me was recognizing, I was listening to somebody and recognizing here, I do a disservice. This is my perspective, by not doing meditation, because by me coming into this alignment, by me coming into my space of my love, I can affect the whole world so differently from the space of not doing it. And it's like, why would you not do it? Why would you not honor that space? And it's because it can heal the whole world. So it's just being in that space. It's recognizing so many things that we have so much more control over, and not wanting to control the things that we think that we want to control, because we don't. Controlling those experiences doesn't allow us to have this growth.
Yeah, I like that phrase you said, breathe into what is. It's like, so if there's chaos going, breathe into it. If there's joy going, breathe into it. I like that. That was a great phrase. I just wanted to share that. One of my mentors, she had a retreat, and she had a lady there who was triggering almost everybody in attendance. And instead of, she's similar, right? She's similar into not controlling this. I'm not going to tell this person that they're wrong or tell them to leave or anything like that. I'm going to use it as a teaching moment. So she had all the people being triggered take a look at why they were being triggered, similar to what I was saying a while ago about judging. She said by the time that process, they had all moved through that process, and before the end of the retreat, everybody just loved this lady. Like, it was a great relationship, everybody connected, and I was like, yeah, I mean, you can't control things like that. You just can't. And it's, if I show up into a group and I'm getting triggered, yep, deep breathing, because I crazy is about to come out, but nope, got breathe into it, breathe into it. What is triggering me? Why is this person getting under my skin, right? Why are they poking the bear? And take the opportunity. Now, once I recognize what it is, now I'm not feeding into the energy of the discomfort. I'm feeding into the energy of forgiveness. And really, that forgiveness is for myself for perceiving this person as whatever it is I'm perceiving them as, and allowing that process of the energy shift. Does it mean I now need to hang out with this person or I feel connected to this person? No, they showed up to do their thing. They showed up for me to take a look at what's going on inside me. That's why they showed up. Now, if there's a relationship that forms, great. If there's not, great. Doesn't matter. That wasn't the purpose. Purpose was there was something in me that was ready to be shifted and healed.
Love it. And it's true. And we have the opportunities really all day long.
Yeah.
And still, that's perfect. It really is.
Yeah.
I'm just reminded, we're just here for such a short amount of time. That's what I was just popped into my head. We're here for just a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Even if we live to 400 years, we're still here for a short amount of time, because that's just the time frame. We're still having experiences on other levels, or you could say God's experiencing itself on other levels through us.
And if it doesn't matter, like, if you really think about the things we give our attention to, is it going to matter in 2 weeks?
No.
Is it matter in 2 months? Is it going to matter in 2 years? Is it going to matter in 20 years? Like, typically answer is no. And then we come back to the moment and say, okay, why am I giving my attention to this then? Why is this such a big deal right now? Well, it's because something in my container is getting triggered. Something in my container is saying we need to give attention to this because I feel abandoned. I feel angry. I feel resentment. I feel guilt. I feel shame. I feel something. And that's what is coming up. And all of that or those emotions are fear-based. Well, if I want to come home to myself, if I want to come home to who I am, I want to be on a love path. So that healing inside me has to take place for me to come home to who I am in that space of love.
Because the healing will just come anyways. Because it's just that's just natural. Because there's not going to be disharmony where there's harmony. It's just a natural flow once you get into that space. And it's recognizing all that. Pretty awesome.
You utilize people to do that. You utilize the people around you to do that.
Yeah, it's true.
Indicator of where you're at.
And it's just distracting you from your journey. It's distracting you from, you know what I mean? It's an opportunity to look at it instead of pushing against it. It's no different than that person that you're pushing against, right? Your mom, not you, the relationship between the mom and the daughter. It's no different from that. There's always going to be something that's going to push against them until they start recognizing. And in my belief, I feel like once we become neutral about it, for me, once I become neutral about the heat, then it no longer has to teach me anything. Do you know what I mean? Once I become neutral about massage, it no longer has anything to teach me. Then it's time for something new. That's just the whole thing with anything. If people want to push against religion, or if they want to push against, anything that you want to push against, when you realize that you don't need to push against it anymore, and then when you find yourself looking at it, thinking, God, I don't even think about that stuff anymore. It doesn't even trigger me anymore. Or when something happens in front of you and you feel neutral about it, it's like, and someone's saying to you, you're not going to say or do anything. And it's like, it's not mine. It's not my stuff. I've had a few of those moments where I've been able to stop and witness when someone else has had their flare up or their reaction. And even if it was kind of directed, or it felt like it was directed towards me, I recognized immediately it wasn't mine. It wasn't mine. So there was nothing for me. It's like at that particular moment, because the space of where I was in, I knew that I could just send love to that person. And before I used to get irritated by, I don't like, the negativity. I don't like the negativity of everything like that, and pushing it away all the time. And now what I might perceive as negativity, like all the stuff that's going on in the world, there's all kinds of stuff going on. There's weather happening and whatever. But as soon as I hear about it, it's just an opportunity for prayer, or to send streams of grace, or to send lots of love to a space because they're suffering from the waters, or, it's not, when you hear about it, it's not to trigger you and be like, oh, fuck, the world's coming to an end. I'm saying F word a lot today. I don't usually do, I haven't been doing that for a long time, but hello, this is that video today.
Your fuck flag fly.
There you go. They're flying. But it's like going through that whole process, and it's just recognizing we don't have to be attached to these things. We don't have to be tied down to these things. It's just becoming this neutral person in this space, and recognizing, oh, okay, that's what it had to teach me. It's like war. That's what it has to teach you. Well, when you become neutral about it, it no longer has anything to serve for you. There's no purpose for it anymore. You're not pushing, you're not for or against it. So it doesn't have to be in your experience, which is easy to say, for me, because I'm not in that space. That's not my experience, right? So it's easy for me, but before I would have given attention to something like that. And now I'm recognizing that it's there to serve the purpose, to help teach somebody else, to help guide them with insight. Because we've already talked about things. We've talked about cancer. We've talked about different stuff. And it really, a lot of that journey is to take us inside. Are you going to live through it? Maybe, maybe not. Are you going to heal when you go inside? Yes, you will heal. You'll heal on many levels. And it's not always going to be on the physical level, because sometimes it means that it's time for your transition. And that's okay. Who are you loving in the meantime? And who's loving you? Like who are we sharing this beautiful love with, when we could be sharing it with everybody?
Something I just heard recently on the business side is, you can't please everybody. And you're going to have quote unquote haters, right? People are going to bad talk you. And the comment was, when you start having haters, you're being successful, and you're triggering them in a way that they're going to do with it what they're going to do. It doesn't matter. So here's the deal. It doesn't matter. Bev and I come here every week and we talk about things from our perspective. We talk about our healing. We talk about our emotions, right? We talk about all this stuff. Anybody can take any piece of content, not from us or anybody else, and manipulate the words or perceive the words in a way that is going to be triggering to them. And then they're pushing the blame outward and saying, because you said this, because you did this, because this is your way you're seeing it, that they're offended. Well, if like Bev was saying, they were neutral to what we were saying, and they were just maybe open to information and perspectives, it would be more along the lines of, I don't really agree with that. So, okay, they're right to have that opinion, or oh, I really liked what they said about this. I'm going to take that and implement it, or don't have any emotion or feeling about anything they said. Probably not going to listen to their podcast anymore. All and any of it's great.
Yes.
Doesn't matter, because anything that is said can always be manipulated in a way to offend somebody. Everything. And it's based on their history. It's based on generational programming. It's based on their emotional wounding. It's placed on the fact that they don't want to take any kind of responsibility of their internal turmoil, and they're putting the blame on the outside towards people who are triggering them, giving them the power and control. So there's so much around the dynamics of relationships, whether the people are actually spending time together or not, because every person we come in contact with is a relationship in some form. So keep that in mind, that I'm going to say haters. This is a very strong word, but the haters out there that are talking shit about you or making rude comments or trying to put you down, or that's coming from their own wounding. I personally just had this experience in the past few days through email, and I just simply stated the facts. This is what I did. Yes, I made a mistake. I had an off day. I'm here to help in any way I can. Facts. There was no insinuations. There was no opinions. There's nothing. This is what happened. Here's where I'm at. Through the emails, though, I could feel the other person's insecurities.
Yes.
And the energy of how they were perceiving the response, right? And I was just like, this, because I had like it was like what you said, I was neutral about. I was just, okay, this is what they read from what I sent out. Yes, they noticed the mistake. They were questioning me on something. So I just sent an email back with the facts. And it was like, I was neutral about it. There was nothing like, well, wait, me. Why are you pointing the finger at me, right? I was told to do that. There was none of that. I had it was total neutrality on my part. But the responses, I could feel the insecurities and well, why is she getting away with it? It's just like, and I already knew right away because the email was the email I sent out went to multiple people. The email that came back was just to me.
Okay.
First of all, we're not going to play this game. I'm not going to do that. So when I responded with those multiple people on the email. So everybody knows what's going on. And so recognizing that, like you're saying, the neutrality, like before I would have been like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I say? You're right, the whole stories, but that would be my insecurity. That would be my wounds coming up. That would be like, I'm not being accepted because I made a mistake. I wasn't about perfectionism. This person is. I've been around them for a while. They're about perfectionism. I'm sorry, I'm not wearing that label no more. I've taken the proud patch off. I'm like, no, I'm going to be human. I'm going to make a mistake. I'll own it. And that's that. There's no other conversation. This is like, people are allowed to make mistakes. It's okay. Like, I don't need to be perfect. I'm not going to be perfect for me ever. So I'm definitely not going to be perfect for you or anybody else in my life.
Yeah. Which I love, because I just, again, is giving someone else the opportunity to realize, oh. But then I think about this other person, and it's funny how these things come up, and I don't know if it's true, but this person you're talking about was raised by a mother that was very much perfectionist. So immediately, but I don't know these people, but I'll tell you, there's a knowing.
Yeah.
So 100%. So having expectations. So it's an opportunity for growth, right? When we're being triggered too, especially when someone says something, it's really, what are our definitions to those words that we're being triggered by? Because it wasn't the intention. Because I do this, if you stop and you read something, because I've done this, and ooh, what the hell? Like, what are you trying to come out? And then if you kind of set in with the person's energy, you realize, just like you said, you can feel what they were intending or what they meant. And sometimes the way that you might have read it, not you, but anybody, we can perceive things a little bit differently just because of the definition that we attach to a word, right or wrong. It's an emotion we attach to a word, right or wrong, right? Until we become neutral in that space and just realize it's just another magical word, and how you can change that word and practice putting it in a definition or in a sentence that is positive where it feels good, change it. So we have those opportunities. The neutrality is awesome, and it really does help us to evolve forward, because we're not holding on to anything. And it's so great when these people do have these opportunities for them to grow, and it's not even personal. Again, then it's coming from you come from your space of your heart. How do you want to respond to this? You come from the space of the heart, because the heart knows, spirit knows the best way to reach these people. And for them, it's almost like as if it would kind of knock them off a little bit. You know what I mean? Not purposely like knock them down, but you're not going to be that push against them, because they're expecting a push. They're putting a push out and they're expecting something back and it doesn't happen. So it deflates the whole thing. There's no need to even carry on that part of the conversation any further than where it was at.
And it's based on, am I feeling insecure? Am I going to step into that wounded place? No, because I've done enough work. I've done, do I get triggered? Yes, I do. I say it almost every week. Yes, I do. Things happen. And I take the time to do some self-reflection, right? Some inquiry. Whereas I'm going to just use the person with this email situation, the mother-daughter situation. Those people are not where they're at right now, are not in a space to take any responsibility for what's stirring up within them. Zero.
And so we don't have to poke the bear. We don't have to push it even any further. It's just to be right at that I mean, I have these moments occasionally with certain clients that will come in and they might have something, they might be fighting for their limitations or want to stay in that space, and that's fine. They can stay there. It's not for me to judge them and take them out of that space.
Yeah.
I am here to help assist, facilitate feeling better, having healings, being able to see the world with a different perspective. But because I've been there, I'm not always willing. Sometimes I'm in a space where I'm not willing to be able to hear anything else right now. And that's okay. That's okay, because I know that I won't be in that space for very long. I'll move past it. And I wanted to go back to when you're listening to someone, like simply, if you had sent an email and it didn't match with me, I might be like, well, that's weird. That doesn't, that doesn't make any sense or whatever. And I would have neutral, like let it go. Or I might have said, hey, I'm not sure. What does this mean? Or, question it or whatever, instead of trying to
On the
poke
phone,
the
I'd be
bear.
like, Bev, the hell is this email about?
Just like you asking about when's the next meeting thing. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking I put it on the calendar, and then my mind sees it, right? Spirit showed me that because I have two different colors. I use purple and I use orange. Orange is for home and for Freeman and for any other like hair appointments or anything like that. That's my stuff. And then I have the purple we see, it's for the business, for the office. And it wasn't even on there. I went back to the last two dates, and it's like neither one of them were on there in purple. So you would never even see it. So it would never even show up that the date was even being occupied. So it was something that I had to recognize and see what was going on. That was one of the things. But it's, again, I'll go back to the other person. When you send out that email, or someone's scrolling, or when you're listening to someone, you either resonate with it or you don't. And if you don't, that's okay. And then sometimes when someone says something and it triggers something in me, I'll be like, instead of getting pissed off about it or irritated about it, or be like, I don't know if that's true, I'll ask myself, is this true? Because I don't stand in that space, and I just kind of and then just by me asking, is this true, puts me into a neutral space. And a lot of times it just kind of, no answer is an answer. That's just another answer. So I just kind of listen to what other people are saying. So it's this whole awareness thing, this whole journey thing, and it's always ongoing. It's always happening. It's never turned off. And even when you're sleeping, you're still processing stuff in dreams, and you're moving about. There's still things that are happening. So it's like we have opportunities all the time for growth, and our spirit teams are trying to help us as much as we'll allow them. And then that goes to being said, when you have someone and they're in their space and they're not ready to receive that information, they're not going to be ready they're not going to hear it from their own team. So it's like, don't beat yourselves up when you're out there and you can see the forest through the trees and the person next to you can't. It's okay. Just send them some love and light so they can shine their own way out. It's not for us to grab a hold of them and pull them through. It's for us to be there and shine that light so they can take the light and then realize, I can walk with this light, and now I can go help somebody else.
And also when you receive an email or a text, it matters what energy you're sitting in the moment when you read it.
Yes.
Right? If I'm depressed and I get an email saying, and I'm perceiving it as an attack at me, I've done this before. And then be in good spirits, like feeling good, and go back and read the same email, completely different message.
And it's almost like your mind kind of ad lib some things, like when you're in a sad space, use that, like it says something And it's like, oh shit. And then if you go to respond from that space, the other
Yeah.
person's like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Because it was just your perspective during that particular moment. That's all that it was. Whatever energy you were sitting in, like you were just saying, which is very well said.
Yeah. So it matters. I mean, when you're watching a video, when you're listening to a podcast, when you're having a conversation, when you're doing a text or an email, where you're at in your own energy matters. Just just
It's true. It's true because I could even go back to the group getting together, like having an attachment to an outcome, because I would tell you there was an attachment to an outcome. Why? Because you don't want to do anything wrong, because you don't want to be, you don't want to feel like you weren't accepted because you did something wrong by bringing everyone. It's like, oh shit, I should have known better. Like, right? So because I'm in a new territory, this is new territory for me to experience, to play with, and it's not a punishment, and it's not trying to make me feel bad or anything like that. It's actually quite the opposite of it. It's highlighting things that I could change, that takes me on the journey that I've been wanting to be on this whole time. It just facilitates it, and I can visually see what's happening now instead of being stuck in the muck, being sad, reading an email, misinterpreting or putting interpretations in it. Seeing your words change. Like your mind will see a word and change the freaking word, and then you go back to read it later on when you're in a different space, like you were saying, and it's like, holy shit, how did I even see
Yeah.
that before? Because I've caught those. I've had those moments, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
show you, like, close your eyes and shake your head. You're like, what? And then reread
Yeah.
it, like, oh.
That's not what I heard at all. But so being in that space with everyone like that, and then I'm hearing from conversations of the other people, right? So here I am, have my own little worries about little things, and then I'm like, gosh, maybe I'm not doing the right thing, right? Because we second guess things. Our human gets in the way. Our ego gets thinks maybe we're not doing something right, And then I get feedback from people, and it's like, well, fuck, I was in the same room, right? How could you miss out on some of those things when you get stuck in your own shit? When you get stuck in your controlling, fear-based stuff. I'm not saying that it was all like that, but I'm using it as an example because it can be so extreme, and you miss out on what everybody else was experiencing. It was great, right? And then you miss out on that because you're worried. Oh God, Bev said the F word again. She's going to be judged. Oh, Bev said that she smokes pot once in a while. Well, I do it every day, but whatever. No, I mean, just saying. But I'm just saying, I'm just going to throw anything out there because I don't care. Don't ever put me on so much of a pedestal that you quit living your life and you think that I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. I am not perfect. I'm perfectly going through my own experiences as Bev from my history. That's it. I am not perfect. And I don't even intend to be perfect. What I intend to do is be happier, to be more in a space of love, and to be more understanding and become more neutral about so many things because it's not my stuff, because I don't have to carry it. And then how can I be better for the world? That's how you're better for the world. When you start doing all these internal things, I don't have to go out there and freaking crusade through the streets. I can do everything from right here in the space of my home, in the space of love. And I can send out that love to this whole world. I can send it out to the whole planetary system, to everything. It's a choice.
Yeah. And I think too, with that group is one of the things is I sense that part of the practice is not taking responsibility for how people show up and
Yes.
what is said and how people
Yes.
perceive it. Right.
Because that's old stuff. This is stuff that I grew up in, right? Oh, we can't invite such and such because they're going to have an issue. Oh, fuck, we really screwed up because we invited this person, and this person. And then you're then backtracking because then they would contact everyone like, listen, this person's going to be here. I'm just letting you know, a heads up.
Yeah.
If you want to still come, I would love to have you here. This whole thing of trying to orchestrate everything, but that's the environment that I had came from. So that was in my experience. But guess what? Because it was in my experience doesn't mean I have to carry it on any further. I don't have to carry it on for my kids to carry it on and my grandkids to carry it on. We can let it go right here.
Well, even on Facebook, when you create an event, there's a section where it says show guest list, and I turn that off every single time. I'm like, nope.
No.
People are gonna, if they're attracted to the class and to me, they need to be there.
100%. And I'm on the same I'm on in the same boat with you after I've gone through some of the processes in my mind, because it's again wanting to control things, right? If everything's controlled, everything outside of you is good, everything's good in mama. That's
Yeah.
all. But it doesn't have to be that way. Everything's always good with inside. It always is. And we don't have to be controlled by the outside experiences.
Yeah, because whatever happens out here is not my control. And so if people are showing up and getting triggered and have issues, that's not my business. As long as I remain neutral and not
Yeah.
affected, right? How am I showing up in the situation? If it's affecting me, well, I got to do some work. It's not affecting me. I'm like, this is their bullshit. It's not mine.
Yeah. And then you get to have fun. That's what's on the other side of that. It's having fun. It's just like you said in that one group you had the one person was triggering everybody. Thank you for triggering everybody, because it was an opportunity for each person to go through this process and then no longer have any of that, to come into a neutral place and not be triggered anymore. That's the awesome part of the whole experience, that we don't have to be, because when those things happen, it feels like something has control over you. It feels like this, oh God, here comes the anger again, or here comes something else gonna bulldoze me over. And it doesn't have to be that way. It just doesn't have to be that way.
And instead of, so I just got to bring this up because it's just, dropped into me, was two things. I could show up, well, before a class, whether online or in person, that I facilitate, where I'm the teacher, knowing that nobody else knows who's showing up, not knowing any dynamics between other people, I could sit and worry, right? Oh my gosh, I hope everybody gets along. I hope everybody has a great conversation. I hope everybody learns. I hope I say the right things, right? All fear-based. Fear is going to feed fear, not just into that class,
Exactly.
but outward into the world. So now I'm feeding anything fear-based because it's the energy of it. Where I sit back and go, okay, I'm gonna have this class. People are going to show up. There's going to be healing. There's going to be connection. There's going to be community. There's going to be amazing things that are said and shared and collaboration. And it's just going to be an incredible experience, not only for the students, but for me, because I get to witness it. I get to be a part of it, because I'm going to, shine my ego and say, because I brought everybody together, which really I didn't. I just offered the space. So that's path of love. So
Yes.
it's when you're depending on the energy, if I'm in the energy of the fear, then yeah, people are going to show up and cause discord. And then I want to be like, what the hell is happening? Or if I'm on that space of love, where it's going to be an amazing experience. And I'm so looking forward to, I love to teach. And so I've recognized that's something that's come to the surface for me, that I got to be in that space of teaching because it just lights me up. And it's just going to be an incredible experience having these people come together for whatever reason supposed to blossom out of this. Then that's what it's going to be. So setting my energy of how do I want this experience to be from my perspective.
And that's exactly what I've been doing. And also recognizing that is exactly what's been happening.
Yeah.
Out of my control. It was out of my control, but I've been able to witness so much other stuff. So again, it was like emotional triggers. We have these opportunities all the time. And then for me, this is an easy, condensed, I'm with people that I love, they love me, they love each other. And they're meeting other people that they can have conversations with, so they don't feel like that they're alone, so that their life comes into more of a harmony and balance. Because a lot of times we might go to work and it's in the space that we're going to work in, it's not really maybe ideal for a lot of people, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on. I could use courthouses as an example. I could use jails as an example. Just people being in those kind of experiences and stuff like that. But it doesn't have. It's perspective, right? Even in those spaces. But when you're saying all that stuff, this is where this last week is where I have recognized that that's totally how everything's going. It is divinely guided. It is out of my control. I love that it's divinely guided. I love that every single week that I do this when people just, when I open up the space for people just to show up, the people that show up that mean to show up are supposed to be there. You know what I mean? It's part of the conversation, because each one of those persons that were there were a benefit by the persons that were there. That's just the way it is. And then of course, now we're a benefit to everybody. It's just to be in that space all the time. I would like to see people getting together like this all the time, everywhere. And just finding, recognizing, oh, that triggered me. Oh, okay, this is a safe place. I have an opportunity for my growth. Or we can be triggered in other ways too, emotionally, where we just feel such a deep connection with other people. So when we say trigger, doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't have to feel like a bad thing, because it's not. We can be triggered in so many different ways. Love can be triggered. And really, if we're talking honestly about this, these triggers are guiding us back to love, because we're asking more questions, because we're seeing beyond all those things. We're deciding we're not going to carry that with us any longer.
Yeah, and the trigger of laughter. I mean, that one I went to,
Oh
how
God.
much time do we spend laughing and giggling? And that just felt amazing. So
Yeah.
trigger, yeah, when I or we say trigger, um, it's not a negative connotation, by no means. Trigger just means, are you being triggered negatively, or are you being triggered positively, emotionally? So yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Another gauge, right? That's just another gauge for us to look at, to show us exactly where we're at right now, how we're feeling. Because back to the comment you made before, if we're in the space of love and we're high flying, vibing and stuff like that, we're not affected by that stuff, because we see it exactly as it is.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So good. Such a great conversation today.
It was a great conversation today. Thank you.
I came this morning, I'm like, I don't know what the hell we're gonna talk about, but we'll
I
just
didn't either. I, but I know spirit knows. I
yeah,
know spirit knows, because it's the more that we're having these conversations, and I'm having conversations with people, and the more that I have the awareness in it, I realize how much information, like you say, it's dropped in, how much communication that we're receiving all the time. Just even as you were saying things, like I'm recognizing when you were talking about the one person, I know that this behavior comes from mom and grandma. So grandma's coming up now too, but I know this is like this has been a long time. How you're seen is how you're perceived. How you're seen is how you are. You know what I mean? It's there's just different, and I don't know who you're even talking about, which is fine, but there's an energy that comes with it, and it's like, okay. And I don't have to go, I'm not saying it because I'm right or wrong. I'm just picking up what I feel and what I'm seeing. I'm just picking up, I know it goes all the way up to grandma.
oh for
It's
sure.
not just, but specifically those three right now. And then there's such a healing that can happen from any one of those people that are alive, whether in a physical body or non-physical body, can change the whole dynamics of this.
Yeah,
So amazing.
yeah.
That's what's amazing.
Yeah, I don't think you know this person, but yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. But that's what I wanted to bring that out, because I think a lot of people are doing the same things. There's so many things that we're receiving information all the time, all the time, all of the time. I mean, I can't even express myself enough when I say that. We're experiencing it. And the more that we talk about it, we start giving other people that awareness. And now they're starting to pay attention from a different perspective, paying attention and having an awareness of what their thoughts are. So that if we know what our thoughts are, we know what's dropping in. Again, reminding people, know your energy. That way, when you go into another person's energy, or when someone else comes into your space and that's now in your energy, you recognize what's not yours. So you don't have to be a match to that energy, but you can be love for that energy.
Yeah. And if you want things to change, you have to change. There's no could or maybe, or no. You have to change. Be the generational change. Stop the cycle. Stop perpetuating generational wounding and do something different. That's on you. That's
Yeah.
not pointing at Bev, but that's on you as the audience, just like
Everyone.
it's us, Amy and Bev. We have to
Yes.
be the change. We have to do something different to heal the generational wounds or ancestral wounds, or however you want to term it. So you got to make a change. What you think about, how you're feeling, how you're perceiving things, do your healing work, all of it. There's a whole package that pertains to each individual on this planet. and then collectively we affect each other. So
And this has been a big year because it's all introspection. It's all internal stuff. Now we're going in, next year's an 8-year, is that correct?
yeah.
And what does that mean? Right off the top of your head?
So infinity comes to mind because of the 8 symbol. So
Yeah.
like things are starting, yeah, that's where things come to fruition.
Oh, so all the work that we're doing this year. Okay.
Because
Which makes sense.
the 9 is where we wrap things up. We clear
Yeah.
up, things come, we got to clean things up so we can start the next 1 year, which is new beginnings. So
And then even as I'm only bringing this up real quick because someone needs to hear it, I guess, but even knowing that we're coming into September, which is also a 9, which we'll see a lot of completions, a lot of endings, which only means new beginnings for a lot of things. And new beginnings are amazing. If you're going out there, someone made a comment to me the other day, which was huge, because I'll be leaving massage at some point after this year. And I know that it's like, just walk out your front door and then go wherever spirit guides you. Do whatever spirit guides you that day. Like, honestly, really to look at that path, and we get these nudges all the time, and it's an awareness, because your body's going to take you where you need to go. And if it takes you away from your home for 2 weeks, and then next thing you know, it guides you right back home, it was just part of the journey. And if we're always following life that way, it's more of a journey of fun and interest in, gosh, where am I going to go next? Like, well, how exciting is this? Can this be? Because I'm not attached to my truck anymore. I'm not attached to the things I have. I'm not attached to all these things. How can your life look differently now? So I just want to kind of put that out there. I know we're wrapping it up a couple times, but these things are popping in. So it's like just sharing it real quick.
There's
Yeah,
so much coming at me now. I'm just like, we could keep talking for another 2 hours.
I know.
But I do have to download this, so that does take some time. And I think I
Yeah,
still.
it's true. It's true. So thank you.
So thanks everybody for hanging out with us, watching us live or on the replay. And be sure to share us, let other people know we're here. We have these conversations every week, and hopefully you get something out of it that's beneficial. And whatever doesn't resonate. It's not gonna hurt our feelings by no means.
Yeah. No,
Just come
no,
back and
it's
watch it.
awesome.
Yeah, come back and watch it in a month or 2 and see if there's more that resonates.
That's true. And again, where are you sitting at when you go to sit down and watch it?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, my friends. Thanks for watching Tea Time with Amy and Bev. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye.